So about a week ago, I posted a video on YouTube and on my Instagram channels explaining why I didn't think the Sistine Chapel was beautiful. Now, one person in the comments was interested to hear a more in-depth version of why I don't think the Sistine Chapel is beautiful. Now, we're going to go about this a little bit mechanically. And so first we'll have to look at what the definition of beauty is, specifically defined by the church. Now, beauty is one of the three transcendentals of being beauty, goodness, and truth. And St. Thomas Aquinas says that it should include a radiance of clarity. Which will bring me to my first point, is that the establishment of a false narrative. Now, like mentioned in my first video, I'm not taking this Protestant sola scriptura view of this, but there is a narrative, there's outlined for us in the scriptures, and it should be followed. Let's use Star Wars as an example. In Star Wars, everyone has a specific origin story that describes who they are as a person and where they came from. Now, there's obviously some artistic license and to be able to create fan versions of these different characters, and that plays into the story and what we would wonder what would happen if. But in general, if we are to keep within the canon, you can say, of Star Wars, you can't deviate too far from an origin story. Otherwise, you're not talking about that character anymore and you're just writing a new character. In the same sense, the Sistine Chapel, specifically in the panel on the ceiling of looking at the creation of Adam, it shows this father figure, which is supposed to be God the Father, reaching out and touching Adam, and it's known as the creation of Adam. Now, we know this is not, according to Scripture, how Adam was created. Adam was created by God taking the slime of the earth and breathing life into it. So already from the start, you have an error in terms of the origin story of our being. Now, another important aspect to understanding that it's not just solely for the narrative, but the patterns that Scripture reveals to us is not arbitrary and connects to everything we do in life and to the other stories and accounts within Scripture. So something like breath coming down to earth and creating life, it shows us that this is a unity of heaven and earth, of the breath of God coming down to earth and creating man, which reveals to us that man is a mediator of heaven and earth. And with the imagery of the touching of the fingers, you kind of lose all that. This does not describe anything to us or reveals any further truth to us about our relationship to God or fully understanding the Scripture. It's just liturgically flawed. Now, the thing I mentioned too is it reveals patterns of reality, and uniting heaven and earth, you can say, is what man is called to do. We in a sense come here to mediate things on earth in a metaphysical sense, potential, and we bring out some meaning into it. That's why we were called to name things by God. And immediately just looking at this one panel, you lose a sense of all that deep-rooted symbolism and liturgical truth. So right off the bat, you have already knocked down one of the transcendentals, which is truth. And without the truth, already you lose the fullness of the aspect of beauty. Now, a second aspect in terms of this falsehood of the narrative is that it really impedes on our understanding of the incarnation. I know that historically there has been a lot of talks and debates about this, but I think if we look to the East, specifically to our Byzantine brothers and sisters, I think they have solved this problem. And one of that is the understanding, once again, of the incarnation. Now, if you think about it, before the coming of Christ, we did not have an image for God. We did not know how he looked like. The best we had was that man was the image of God. But obviously, because of our fallen state, we have ruined our image and it needed to be redeemed. And this is where we come into the Annunciation and the incarnation of God into the world, where the Word was made flesh. Now, this is a very important understanding because it is not solely for the fact that this historical figure, Jesus, the God of man, came in the flesh, but also it revealed his image. So now we know what he looks like. If you look into the iconography of Genesis, anytime that God is mentioned and put into the imagery, it's Christ, because Christ is the image of God. It is who he is. Now imagine taking a picture of your aunt and saying it's your mother. It's clearly not the same person. You've swapped the imagery. In the same sense, when you look at the Sistine Chapel, you have this old man figure that, in my opinion, is not necessarily even clear that that's God, right? You can say it's this Zeus-like representation of God. Now you can argue it's because it's God the Father, but once again, even God's the Father's image is revealed to us within the Son in the incarnation, and that's his image. So already within just one panel, you have two flaws. You have the creation of Adam is wrong, and the representation of God is also kind of iffy. And this once again also impedes in our understanding of us being an image of God, and then God creating and coming down and revealing his image to us. And lastly, looking into this historically, even the papal master of ceremonies at the time, which his name was, I apologize, I don't speak Italian, but Bianco de Cesana, really didn't like the Sistine Chapel. And as a little humiliation towards Bianco, Michelangelo painted him nude with a snake wrapped around him, biting at his genitalia. So you already see that the purpose that drives this is more of the passions than it is an actual liturgical representation, or you can say even a liturgical purpose in worship. And with that, you can kind of see this pattern that there's not a striving of transcendental beauty, but a celebration of interior passions. And to be honest, you can also look at the fruits that it has produced. There's a reason why this has become more of a tourist attraction than a place that people would come to worship. If we were to walk into the Sistine Chapel with it isolated, without it being geographically located in the Vatican or someone telling us that it's Christian, if we looked at it, would it really reveal to us the truth of our Christian story? Because to me, it more looks like the revelation of some kind of pagan story than it is of our own. Hey everyone, thank you again for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe below. If you would like to support, just a reminder that I'm also a video production person. I can do any branding work, any other video assignments that you may need. Check out my website at holy7.tv to check out my work, and I hope we can work together on a project. But till the next podcast, see you then.